Hour 2 Overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. We've got Michael Block coming up in about a half an hour, one of the most popular golfers in the world who no one knew of this time last week. He's playing again on tour this week. He'll be up here at the RBC Canadian Open.
Can he start can he be that guy that just needed that chance? And instead of the sponsor's exemption, can he do it and make a living out there at 47 for a couple of years, or did he just have that magical couple days in Rochester?
I guess we'll find out, right? 2 of the next 3 weeks, we'll find out what he's made of. But it was a remarkable story. It was an awesome finish, the hole-in-one. Like that's Disney stuff. That's not even believable.
That's already a movie in the making, man.
Yeah, it has to be. And apparently the Netflix cameras were on it. And I think we're like tracking him through the weekend. So that's going to be a big part of Full Swing Season 2 next year. So, yeah, there it is up on TSN 2. Just an incredible shot. The up and down on 18 was remarkable. Playing with Rory. He was more popular than Rory. That's tough to do. So he's coming up in about a half an hour. Mike Johnson will join us here in a few moments. Stanley Cup playoffs continuing tonight. Man, we need Dallas. Like, I don't have a dog in the fight with any of this. I just want to see a Game 6, a Game 7. Wow, I want to see something on the line, right? You got to have Dallas winning tonight.
Well, the two games went to overtime. You got to find a way to score. And
same with Carolina in the first 2 games.
Exactly. Like that Carolina-Florida series has been very close. Like Bobrovsky was great yesterday. He made 32 saves. It's not like he made 85 saves. Like the game was very methodical. And Florida, I think they were 22nd in defense this year as far as goals against and stuff this year. But they dug in and they got some big saves from the goaltender. Like
it's Bob.
Yeah, Carolina's getting goaltendered right now, and you can never make excuses in that league. But they got 2 game breakers, Pacioretty and Svechnikov, that would sure help their roster.
Sure.
And going out and getting a guy like Pacioretty is because of a series in the past against Tampa Bay, I think the year after the bubble, where they got goaltendered by Vasilevsky. And they were like, we did everything. We played our asses off, and we got beat by a guy. So they went out and got a game breaker, and he blew his Achilles out, and Svechnikov is out. And you could just see it. Those guys are game changers for them. They could rip one home when nobody else can find a way to do it. And that's a missing key right now.
Sure. I mean, you need something. That's really what it is. I will say both of their styles, though, the way they play, both teams play dump and chase. It's amazing. Neutral zone dump, chase, physicality, get it back, loose puck battles. Like, that is playoff hockey. And the other side, that Dallas-Vegas series, same type of thing. There's been big hits. There is some irritability. Like, both teams, it could easily be 2-0 Dallas instead of 2-0 Vegas.
Oh, of course.
I mean, Dallas pissed one away the other night. They were up 2-1.
Right.
They were up 2-1 with a minute left.
You go to overtime twice. Anything, you just need something to break your way. You know, the same thing with Carolina. You go there, went to 4 overtimes in Game 1. Yeah. And that's actually what is amazing about Bobrovsky, is that this guy is playing this well, and after a 4 overtime outing in Game 1, they had to take Freddie Anderson out for Game 2.
Freddie didn't make it the next game.
Freddie couldn't make it. Freddie's like, I'm not playing. You see what I did? I just played 2 games the other night. Bob's out there like, yeah, well, let's go. Drop the puck. What do you got? Like, let's keep cooking, man.
Well, you talk about shouldn't that be the standard expectation, Brian? Like, give me a break.
Well, it should
you would think that any player would be like, that's how long the game was. On to the next one.
Right. And
don't even think about putting me in there.
Well, I don't know if he said that, though. Literally. I don't know if Freddie went to Rod the Bod and said, hey, pal, take a lap. I'm not playing tonight. But that is the nature of certain goaltenders. And there's 2 clearly in the past, I guess 3. You can include Price in the COVID bubble. Like Carey Price, Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, these monsters that just go every other night, and you can throw, if they get hot, you're screwed. And that's effectively what's going on. I'm not trying to downplay what Florida's done, because they've battled and they've got here. They've been spectacular. But Bobrovsky's numbers are absurd. They're absurd. Like, you can't score on the guy. And if you can't score on the guy, you obviously can't win. Hockey for dummies. Well, can't score on that guy, you're probably in big trouble. And that's what Carolina – and listen, the Leafs ran into it in a lot of ways too in the previous round.
It is. And the one thing that kind of makes me have a little bit of, smile behind the scenes is like people are saying you can't win with a $10 million goaltender. Well, Price won a few rounds, got to the finals. Bobrovsky, maybe $10 million goaltenders, yes, they don't grow on trees. There's only a handful of them right now. Mm-hmm. But those guys, there's a reason why they got paid $10 million.
Maybe, Jamie, it's the only justifiable position to pay a guy $10 million. Let's bring in MJ.
And when it'll pay off is now, right? Vasilevsky's making $9.5, but he could be making 13 and he'd be worth it based on what he's done.
Right.
Joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline, here's our TSN hockey analyst, Mike Johnson. How do you look at it, Johnny, in terms of goalies getting paid that much money, and maybe during the regular season they play $4 or $5 million goalies, but if they get hot at the right time, and we know when that is, can you justify the contract?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously right now it looks that way with Bobrovsky being there, and Noodles makes a good point with Vasilevsky and Price, but I guess it's more like, what does your team look like with a $5 million goalie and $6 million more in players versus the $10 million goalie and no more players, and I think that's a tougher one to handle if you have a very special one. But I guess maybe the debate is Bob a special one? Yes, he's been for the last 2 weeks, but is he warrant that, or is there only 2 or 3 guys who are that good that warrant that much money? The other guys, there's not a huge difference. Like Samsonov was a top 8 goalie in the league this year. For the whole year, he made $2 million. So, would you rather have Samsonov and Nylander or Bobrovsky? Right? I think that's the kind of conversation you have.
I know, but you're right. But I can make a case that, I'll take Bobrovsky over Panarin and his dry hair on the wing doing nothing for the Rangers. That's the thing. It is these guys. There's a reason why every player who is paid regardless of Panarin, and I'm joking, but Panarin, the $10 million players, there's a reason why they make $10 million. Bobrovsky has 2 Vezinas. We forget about that. That's 2 Vezinas, and he has playoff victories. So at some point he has earned that contract. Has he earned it the last couple of years? I would argue no, based on the numbers, based on the regular season. But again, there is a reason why a $10 million player, you can't be shocked when a $10 million player shows up and plays like a $10 million player. You're like,
especially
that's
at that position.
Exactly.
Especially at that position, right? It's the one position that can change everything. It makes the whole game impossible to predict and analyze when it's separate, right? It just, the goalie is just different and can change and tip the scales both ways. You'd have the greatest 4 lines, greatest 3 pairings. If you have a stiff in net, you're not going to win a cup. You're not. He will screw you over at some point. He will blow a 4-game series or a 7-game series. 4 times he'll absolutely soil himself and you'll lose. But the opposite is also true. You have the best goalie in the world. You can have a well below average team that works hard, and you get a chance to win rounds.
Look at all those teams in Buffalo. Do you think that was a world-beating roster when they had Hasek on top of his game? It wasn't.
Exactly.
No, but he's the best goalie of all time. I'll say, well, what about when Anthony Niemi won?
Yeah.
But
he played well, Johnny. He wasn't terrible during that run. He played well.
No, but you're defeating your own point, though, because he wasn't a $10 million guy. There are a lot of goalies in the league that could play well enough to win a cup. Now, the likelihood that a $10 million goalie plays well enough is probably higher. Clearly, that's why they have that contract. But it's just a trick. It's so tricky. But I'm glad you bring up the point, Hayes, because I don't think fans and management or players even like to hear what you're saying, because it's absolutely correct. You can do everything right, and you can build a good team, and you can outplay opponents. Listen, Carolina should be up in this series 3-0. But goalies aside, now you don't take goalies aside, but you can do all that, and because of chance, because of goaltending, you don't get the result that team plays well enough to earn, because goaltending is such a pivotal position. And that's not to suggest that Anderson's been bad. Anderson's been great. Just Bobrovsky's been historically good.
Right.
And if you bump into that, at some point, you're just sort of a victim of the nature of the sport, and all your best laid plans in building a team don't work because you ran into that. And that, it kind of sucks that it's out of your hands, but that's the reality when you bump into a goalie playing as well as he is right now.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, guys. I believe if you're building a team right now, especially in a hard cap, that goalie better be an absolute rock star to make double digits, just based on the way teams are built right now, because you don't have a lot of extra money to spare. So, again, Carey Price, Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky had earned that contract, certainly wasn't living up to it in Florida based on the standards that he had laid. I don't think it's a winning formula to have a 10 million. What I was pointing out is there's a reason why those few make double digits, is because they've been that good in their career.
They have this in them.
They do have exactly.
Well,
that's
kind of what you're buying, aren't you? Like, take the name of the player out of it. Who he is. Let's just say great goalie, capable of great goalie.
Right.
And it's like you got to give him 7 years, $10 million per, but he's going to give you 2 unbelievable springs. Like, it's 2 tickets. He's going to give you 2 tickets.
Maybe
do you
3.
Take it. Maybe
Give me 3.
Okay, if I guarantee you 3.
Yes.
It's kind of okay. I'll take 3 tickets where this guy's going to be unbelievable in the spring.
Yeah, there's so many ups and downs and variables and factors and puck luck and mojo. You give me 3 out of 7, I'm in all day.
Johnny?
Yeah, but even when you get the 3, it's not like you're going to make the final every time. Like, I talked to Carey Price in some of those playoffs. Even with that, it doesn't guarantee it. And remember, I know it's recency bias, but Bob, playing the way he did it this year, had Florida, a Pittsburgh Penguin loss to Chicago away from missing the playoffs, where the GM Bob might be getting bought out. He was getting sat for Alex Lyon. So, yes, it's incredible what he can do. And, yes, he deserves that contract because of what he's done in the past. And, yeah, that's what you fear when you play a goalie who has the potential to be that good. But it's just, you just don't know when you're going to get it or if you're going to get it. And I guess if you guarantee me 3 world-class playoffs, I'd probably do a 2-0. But I guess what I'm saying is I don't feel like you would guarantee – you're not guaranteed 3 from Bob. He's already been through 2. He's giving you 1 now. But I don't know if you're going to get 2 more, and that's the risk you run. And they were, they almost lost to Boston. It's going well right now, but it's, a lot of things are going their way, including the goaltender.
Yep.
Bottom line, Johnny, if he wins the cup, it's worth every cent of the contract because he looks like he could single-handedly win that team the Stanley Cup right now.
Do you think he wins the Conn Smythe if he's just in the Cup final and loses?
If he plays like this, yeah, absolutely. 100%. I was reading some article about him saying that the last 8 games he's played, since they've sort of been tracking some of these advanced numbers, the last 15 years, it's the greatest 8 games played ever, consecutively. There's been no stretch for any goalie, regular season or playoffs, that has ever been this good, this many goals saved above expected over the course of 8 games ever by one guy. That's what. So
Johnny, it's not actually the best stretch ever. It's just what you and the cronies think is the best stretch ever.
I mean it is if you look at it though. He's played very well.
The
metrics.
Tough to argue. The one loss is 2-1 by the Leafs, where they had to grind it out.
Yeah.
2-1.
You keep waiting for him to hit the ditch, whether that team to hit the ditch. Just an off night. I remember having this conversation with Billy Ranford when he won the Conn Smythe. I think it was in, what year was that? 90. So he was unbelievable. And I remember asking him that summer, I was working at a goalie school with him, saying, did you ever think you were going to have an off night, where the legs and the mind wasn't there? They were going into overtimes and all these things. He said, yeah, you kind of wait for it. You wait for an off night where it's like, hey, I just don't have it tonight. The legs, the mind's not there. I keep waiting for that with Bob. It hasn't. I thought maybe it would come in against the Leafs. I thought it would come, against Carolina here.
Not happening.
It might happen tomorrow.
It could at some point.
You never know.
Yeah,
but he's been brilliant. I agree, Johnny. The numbers, the goals saved above expected. What is it, 11 that he's saved above expectation?
Yeah, depending how you look at it. Some have 11, some have 18, depending on what person you use. But absolutely. Yeah. Now, you say, so Bob is one thing, but the Panthers are another. It's so tricky because they're winning. And they're making big plays in overtime, and they're doing enough. And they full credit to them for that. Last game, Game 3, Florida didn't play well. the shots were like 30-14 at 5-on-5.
They had 7 shots their last 2 periods, didn't they?
Right.
Wasn't it something ridiculous like that?
So you talk about hitting the ditch, like that maybe was their ditch game, and they still won it. Now, I don't know if that's because they've got it all figured out. It's like you don't have it figured out until you win, but once you win, you got to figure it out, and you'll always have it figured out. It's a weird dynamic, this idea that winning in the playoffs, because it's just so unpredictable.
Yeah, it is. And then, you look at the other side. We were talking about it, Johnny, that Dallas gets a couple of breaks. They're up 2-0 going home.
Yeah.
Like both games going to overtime. And those have been good games, good series. But I'm just, as a fan, I'm hoping Dallas can find a way to push the series because it doesn't seem likely Carolina's going to come back. Do you think Dallas still has it in them to win this series down 0-2 going home?
Well, it doesn't feel that way, but 2 overtime games tells you how close it is. Ottinger hasn't been spectacular. Like, in fact, as we talk about goaltenders, Aiden Hill might be the starting goalie in the final. So what does that mean for your $10 million goaltender? I mean, like, it's the other side of the coin. Yeah. But, I mean, I think if Dallas wins, Dallas obviously has to win tonight. They got to get to 2-1. And then, I think they can crawl back in it. But I do think because it's the most important position, Jake Ottinger has to become super Jake Ottinger. Not just good, not just act like, but like, ridiculously good, as he has been in the past. And then they can crawl back in it because it's not like they've been getting dominated. Vegas was better in Game 1. Dallas was better in Game 2. Ryan Suter's play behind the net, like it's just one play and a million in the game. But like that was a bad play. On his backhand, sort of kind of soft on the puck and turning it over with a minute left in a 1-goal game. And it ends up in the back of the net and the tie and then overtime loss. Like those are the margins when it's this tight, and you count on a guy like Suter who's been around forever to be better in that situation. If they are, then I think they can crawl back in it. But like it'd be so weird because we haven't like 2 sweeps or a 4 and a 5 game. We just don't see that in the NHL very often this deep in the playoffs. So it feels strange to see that we might be on that road.
Johnny, we were talking earlier about Dubas's exit and some of the players, their association with that. Do you actually think, because my point to Hayes was, the players don't have that much interaction with the general manager. They deal with the contract, the agent does. And I mean, throughout the year, there might be a coffee in the locker room, a hi, a little stop and chat, but it's not that great. Do you think his exit, some players would be like, I'm pissed, maybe I don't want to be here because of it?
I mean, I think, I'm 100% with you. Like, I would talk to the GM like 4 times a year.
Yeah, and it's in passing.
When I left, a couple stop and chats in the hallway, and I wanted to get out of there. I don't want to talk to the GM. So, but I do think today's athlete, and specifically the ones in Toronto who are, so important to the franchise, probably did communicate with Kyle a bit more. They probably have had a bit more of a relationship there. Maybe some of the guys, Kyle really was big on fostering a positive culture, whether it's dealing with families, whether it's, the way that they treat the players. And guys would probably appreciate that. But I don't think anyone's like, I can't live without Kyle. I can't play without Kyle as my GM. Like, that's not realistic for starters. And it's not really the way most players operate. There might be a handful, 5 guys, obviously the big 4 and Morgan Riley. They might have a bit more of a personal attachment, but not enough to like, I got to get out of here because he's not here. I couldn't see that being the case.
Well, I'm curious, and you guys can all answer this. Like when you get to a big decision, and a lot of the angst here in Toronto really isn't about Dubas in the front office, Johnny. I know you're aware of this. It's Matthews. He's coming up. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen there? How much of your decision-making is based on what you think is going to happen in the future? In other words, who your teammates are going to be, the coach, is ownership going to spend, are you going to be competitive? And how much of it is already baked in based on your lived experience? In other words, I know the owner, I know my teammates, I love the city, I love the staff, I get treated well.
That's the first point right there, Brian. I really enjoy where I'm living, where I'm playing right now. It's a great place to play. Everybody loves me. And the second element, and it's the only element, is this team going to have a chance to compete and win in the future? Those are the only 2 things you look at. Johnny, go ahead.
100%. No, that's it. But the challenge is, so let's say I'm Auston Matthews right now. And I think the first part, I think we all know the answer to that. It's positive. Like he likes it and all the rest. The second part, will we be able to compete, and what will we play like, and what will our team look like? With Kyle Dubas, you sort of knew what that would be. With a new guy, you don't, and that's where the uncertainty lies for Auston Matthews. Like he absolutely, and he won't be like slow playing to July 1st. Like it'll take some time for him and his camp to sort out what the vision of this new guy is and how that plays out a little bit and what that means for the roster and coach and everything else. And maybe that then impacts his decision. But predicting whether you'll be successful, whether you have a chance to win is tricky. They have a good team now. The new GM's not going to come in and say, I'm planning on screwing it up and getting worse. So the plan that the new GM pitches will be a good one, and it will make sense. But, yeah, I think that will take time. And that's what's different for Toronto, the Toronto organization right now, is because I think prior to Kyle leaving, there was a reasonable expectation that if Auston Matthews wanted to stay, they could have got somewhere close to an extension agreed upon prior to July 1st. Now, I don't think that's a fair expectation to even ask Auston Matthews to consider that, because he won't know the new guy and what all that means going forward until, beyond July 1st. And then his no trade kicks in, and then options are limited and all the rest. So that is what has changed for the dynamic with Auston right now to me.
Johnny, I also brought up that point. I understand you have to do the process and go through the process, but it kind of makes a lot of sense to get the new GM and get that cooking rather quickly, doesn't it?
Yes. Like yesterday. I mean, you can't rush it.
No.
But you can't dawdle. You got to get people in here, do the interviews, do another interview, whatever, let them make their pitches, make your proposal, get a contract done, and get by the end of next week, they got to have a GM. What day is today? Today's Tuesday?
Yep.
By the end of, maybe in a week, by this time next week, they need to have a GM. The draft is how many weeks away? I know they have the same set of scouts, and they can kind of run a draft. But if you're talking about trading a really important player, you're talking about the draft where that happens, you're talking about free agency where that money is spent. Like, you need the guy who's charting the course in charge prior to that happening. That's 4 weeks away. You don't have 2 weeks to spare and then have 2 weeks to get up and running. You got to do it now as fast as possible.
And Johnny, we were talking about last hour, I wholeheartedly, I don't think it's a July 1st deadline, as you just pointed out now for Matthews. Mm-hmm. Yes, the no trade, all of that, but he might have to take some time, and the new manager might have to take some time. So, it's not do or die July 1st. Pasternak went for quite a long time without a contract in Boston, and they ended up sorting it out. Hayes is of the belief, and I agree with him too, is Auston Matthews wants to be in Toronto. He will work it out with the new manager. But I still think it's going to come down to numbers and term and money, because I think he's getting a big contract, a big number. And I don't know if he's going to want 8 years. I think he's going to want 3 to 5 years. So that's going to be something that the new manager has to work into his cap situation.
Yeah. Listen, and I love that idea, the idea of going short a couple times, and then when you get to be about 30, then you hit your 8-year home run for $100 million. That is maximizing every cent, which I love. I love that sentiment for Auston Matthews if they decide to go that way. But, I think both parts, everyone will have to get to know each other. And, what was the chances of Auston Matthews really getting traded by July 1st? They're pretty small, right?
Yes.
Even if his no trade kicks in, I don't think it would get to that point with Kyle Dubas or anyone else. So that will play itself out as it does, and Auston will know that he has a contract in Toronto for whatever term, whatever dollars, when he wants to get there. But are there other no trades kicking in on July 1st? Does Mitch Marner have one kicking in on July 1st? That one becomes a little bit more sticky. By July 1st, unlikely, but you never know. And if you lose control of that, then it does limit your options if you want to explore that. Not saying they should, not saying they will, but if they want to, and the new guy might say, listen, we need to trade one of these 4 players. We absolutely have to. And if that's his prerogative, we can't trade Tavares. You're not going to trade Matthews. And Nylander doesn't have an extension signed, so his value is not so high with just 1 year left. So, that's probably the timeline, not so much for Auston Matthews, but if Mitch Marner had a no trade kicking in, which I think he does, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think he does, that probably matters more about July 1st than anything else.
Well, we've got 4 or 5 weeks to figure this out. And then, like you're saying, Johnny, very likely beyond that, what could happen, what might not happen. A lot is up in the air, and yet you still got the conference finals rolling on and the World Championships. Canada losing in a shootout and bouncing back. Now they got Finland coming up. I mean, it seems
what's going on over there, Johnny?
What's going on? What's the story here, Johnny?
We gotta grind your team. There's 2 guys on this team that scored 20 goals last year in the league. They had Toffoli with 30, whatever he had, 4, and Lawson Krause with 24. No other guy had 20 goals in the NHL. They're not a gifted offensive team. They're a grinding team, and they play that way, so all the games are close. They didn't play well against Norway, and they lost in a shootout, which was probably a little bit embarrassing for the guys, but it happened. I played on a World Championship team when we lost to Norway. I was uniquely qualified to call that game. But, yeah, it's just a whole bunch of low-scoring, tight-checking games. They just don't have the juice offensively. But we'll see. Finland and them have played 2 years in a row for the gold medal. So they know each other well. We'll see what happens on Thursday in Finland. But, guys, I just finished the Latvia-Switzerland game. And I know it's not interesting but Latvia had to get to overtime to qualify. And you've never heard a louder rink in your life. The whole 3 hours.
I saw the overtime winner. I was interested.
It was crazy how, one of the coolest experiences I've ever kind of been in a rink for. So to Latvia, and you guys can't hear it, thankfully. I've got thick windows. But it's like Victoria Day parade outside my hotel right now. People are so pumped up, fireworks going off in the sky and everything else as they're celebrating this win. So that's kind of been the highlight of my last game in Riga.
Nice.
Was watching Latvia win and the city go nuts for it. Kristaps Porzingis was in the house for it.
We love it. Shout-outs. KP. All right, man. Well, enjoy yourself.
Know that you're going outside to join the people. Exactly. We got to fly.
Go have fun, Johnny. Thank you for this, buddy. We'll do it later in the week.
I got to pack, and I'm not using any zippers while I'm on the phone with you guys.
Attaboy. Do your thing, man. All silence. All business. Thank you, Johnny.
All right.
Mike Johnson, a TSN Hockey analyst, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota. And check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory arriving daily. It's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. Michael Block, the Block Party all week down in Rochester, coming up to Canada, the RBC Canadian Open. He will join us next. All right, something to chew on brought to you by Boston Pizza later this afternoon. Keegan Matheson coming up from the Trop at a Game 2. Jays are not in a good place. The Jays are not in a good place, not having fun, not having a good time. But they'll continue this roadie. Eventually, they'll be back up here. They'll be playing at the Dome. And in a few weeks, they're going to have to be battling for the headlines up here in Toronto. Because as we know, the RBC Canadian Open's making its way back up. It'll be played at Oakdale. And a lot of big names are coming up, including Rory McIlroy and including our next guest, who's accepted the invitation. He's back in the act this week down at the Colonial after putting on an absolute show down in Rochester at the PGA Championship. I would say the most popular, most well-known club pro in the world. Here's Michael Block joining us here on OverDrive. How you doing, Michael?
Not too bad. How's it going up in Toronto? I can't wait to come see you guys.
Yeah, well, that'll be awesome. I mean, that's great to hear that you accepted the invitation, and it's going to be fun up here. We'll be there. We'll be on the course doing the show live all week, so we're going to be up there. And what a whirlwind for you, I'm sure, the last week. What's it like being famous? What's it like being a celebrity now?
I'm just trying to enjoy every moment of it. Everywhere I've been so far between Rochester and now here in Fort Worth, the people have been absolutely just fantastic. The sweetest people in the world. But I've also heard that in Toronto that the people up there are just amazing. And so I've been fortunate enough to be coming to a couple different events with just amazing crowds, amazing people that are super pumped up to have golf tournaments in their cities. And it's exciting. It's been fun.
How important was this, like your newfound celebrity and just the whole weekend went? How important was the up and down at 18? Like if you don't get that up and down and maybe you chop it around in the rough a little bit, do you think everything is still the same? Like you getting up and down and making that putt was kind of important, right? Because you making it got you into next year and it kind of got the crowd fired up and maybe things, I'm not going to say that they wouldn't be the same, but that was big, wasn't it?
That was huge. I had no idea what it was for. I would have never gotten up and down if I did. So I was just grinding it out. My caddy and I were playing 17, 18, which both were 500 yards, par fours, as easy par fives in our heads. So I was just thinking in the mentality of it where I just got my second shot by the green, and all I need to do is get up and down to make my par. Now I put myself in a brutal spot over that bunker, tight left pin, and I didn't try to land it barely in the rough and just barely trickle out to 10 feet short of the pin. I was trying to land it on the green and be about 10 feet past it, so I got very, very fortunate with that, and then I crept that putt in, which was huge.
Well, obviously, you had the hole-in-one a couple of holes before that, which is incredible and just an amazing theater. But anyone that's played golf understands no one steps up to a tee on a par 3 thinking, I'm going to actually hit a hole-in-one, right? You're just trying to hit the middle of the green. Like, the idea that it went in was just incredible. But, again, that up and down, like, that's as tough as it gets with the pressure on 18. Like, you know, I think everyone will remember the hole-in-one, but as a golfer yourself, like a purist, in a way, do you appreciate what you did on 18 almost as much or maybe more so because of how difficult that was?
Yeah, so the next hole, which was 16, I was in the rough and I got aggressive. I hit 6 iron instead of being smart how I had been and just hit 7 iron short and get up and down for par. I got aggressive and it cost me a bogey on 16. Then I go to 17. I hit a poor drive in the rough, and I said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm playing smart. I just chopped it out, hit it to a pitch or a gap wedge from 120 to about 6-7 feet, and made that. So when I went to 18, I'm just sitting there saying, you know what? Like you said, it is more important from what I did. A hole-in-one's just luck. That's pure and utter luck. Yes, I hit a good 7 iron, but it went in the hole is such luck. That could have easily hit the pin and bounced to the right and gone down that slope where Rory was, and I would have made a bogey or double. So yeah, 18 was actually a little more skill than luck, so it paid off. But man, I'll tell you what, the whole thing was just a dream the whole time. I was, man, the fans there. I don't know if you saw it on TV, but the fans on 18 were absolutely ridiculous. I remember I played in 2018 in St. Louis in the PGA Championship where I'm from, and the crowd was amazing there. But it seemed even bigger in Rochester.
How cool was it for you to see your friends and family at the course celebrating?
So many of them. Alex Beach and Kenny Pigman, two of the other professionals who had qualified and were in the team of 20, stayed the weekend and followed me the entire time with their girlfriends and family, along with my friends and family that had come out. My coworkers had come out. My wife was there, and to have them there and to be able to celebrate with them and for them to live this experience that I've been fortunate enough to is crazy cool.
I've been around golf for a long time, talked to a lot of golfers, and one common theme is that there's so many good players that sometimes you just need a break. Do you think you can turn this into not being about sponsors exemptions and you can go and play and make a living at this on the regular tour for the next 2 or 3 years?
I'm not going to say no. I would love to. I've always told everybody, everyone's always been like, Block, why don't you go on tour? Block, why don't you go on tour? And I'm just like, I've always had such a great life. I just love my job. I love where I work, and I love the people around me. I love being around my family. I love sleeping in my house most of the time. But at the same time, yeah, this experience out here, I'm going to ride this as far as I can in as many events as I possibly can. And if it works out where I play well enough to get my card, by all means, I would keep and not play.
We're chatting with Michael Block, who obviously made a name for himself this past weekend, finishing T15 at the PGA Championships. He's playing this week at Colonial, and then in a couple of weeks he'll be up here at Oakdale at RBC Canadian Open. What was amazing was who you were playing with. Like, you're out there with Rory McIlroy, who probably the most popular player on tour, and it felt like it was a block party, and Rory was kind of riding a wave. What was he like, and what was that experience like, just playing 18 and doing what you were doing with Rory McIlroy?
Rory was first class. I didn't look at his face until the third hole. I just stared at his feet when he was hitting the golf ball because I didn't want to see it because it intimidated me too much. So he was absolutely he was absolutely dull, though. He was so cool, super supportive, great guy. His caddy was awesome. And yeah, it was nuts on the first tee. I mean, the crowd the crowd was supporting me more than Rory McIlroy. And I was just sitting there and go, what is going on? I'm like, I was clapping for Rory. I was literally clapping for him. So, yeah, I was a fan. So here I am, a fan of him out there, playing with him in the final round of a major. It was it's kind of like, guys, one of the fans in the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? Literally in the finals, being called in hey, put your beer down, come down here, and you're on the ice. Go ahead and score for us in overtime. And that's literally what happened to me. And I think golf might be the only sport in the world that has this opportunity for their PGA professionals. And man, I guess I took advantage of that.
I know you are a professional, but was there one point in the round where he hit a golf shot and you said, damn it, that is outrageous how good that is?
On a par 3, number 5 or 6, I believe, 5. I hit, I believe, a 4-iron, and I think he hit 8-iron. And it went, it literally went 8 times higher than my ball. It was insane. I'm like, did you just hit a lob wedge? It was crazy, the height and trajectory. That's what I was blown away by far away the most. Not even so much the distance, but the height and trajectory hits the ball is I'd never seen it in my life.
We're chatting with Michael Block. So I'm curious how you're going to handle this week and in a couple of weeks up here at the RBC Canadian Open, where I'm sure, you got TaylorMade all up and down the bag. TaylorMade's probably wanting to send you everything. And you got your clubs. A lot of people pointing out, you're committed to those clubs. You love those clubs. And obviously they're working for you. So do you stick with, who you are, what you are, how you play, or do you get seduced by, the next few weeks, people throwing everything at you? How are you going to handle a lot of people, a lot of big companies, a lot of golf companies coming at it from a good standpoint? Don't get me wrong. Not negative, not skeptical, but them being like, here, why don't you play this? Why don't you play that? I'm sure that's already started to happen for you. How are you going to handle that moving forward?
I've definitely gotten an insane amount of phone calls and interest and sponsorships. I don't even want to say this, but I already have an agent. Because if I didn't, it's ridiculous. I have over 10,000 texts and 10,000 DMs and 10,000 emails that I cannot respond. It's insane. So he's actually a really good friend of mine who's jumped on board with me, who helped me out in the past and is really, really helping me out now when I really need it. So it's really cool. And there's nothing that begs change, and there's no way in God's green earth I will be in Toronto with the exact set makeup I had in Rochester. Now, on the other hand, will I maybe have a couple more sponsors at that point? Mm-hmm. I might guarantee that one.
Yeah, okay, that's good to hear. And was I reading this morning that Michael Jordan reached out to you, but you haven't seen the text yet somehow? What does that mean?
That's what happens when you get 10,000 plus texts and from all random phone numbers. I literally can't check them. And I'm a Nike guy, and they called me or texted me. And they're like, "Did you see that Jordan text you?" I'm like, "Oh, what?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm a huge Jordan guy, right? I love him, and I'm like, "You have got to be kidding me!" So I sat out here at Colonial for literally half an hour when I was supposed to be playing, going through all these. It took me a half an hour just to finally find it. And I responded to him and thanked him for reaching out to me and told him that I can't wait to someday maybe play in his 36-hole match that he has out there.
Right. What did he say?
No, I haven't even seen my phone since, and it's insane.
So that'd be a nervous text, man? Did you overthink that? Be honest with us. Were you sitting there saying, "What do I respond to Jordan with?"
No, not so much. I just try to be myself, and I just responded as if it's another buddy of mine. The coolest part was actually kind of writing his name in the contact. When I created a new contact and I was writing in the middle of, I wish there had been a camera to sit there and watch me typing out his name. That was a pretty cool moment.
That's awesome. With Michael Block. So Arroyo Trabuco Golf Club out in California. What happens if, you get people out there reaching out to you saying, "Hey, when are you going to be back home?"
Yeah, I got a lesson on Tuesday.
Yeah, what's the response on that?
I've already had to cancel. It's kind of funny. Usually I would just individually text each one and be like, "Hey, hi, Keener. Hey, hey, Dennis, I'm not going to be there." But I had to put them on a mass text and be like, "Hey guys, I hope you understand, but I'm headed to Colonial right now, and I can't give you guys lessons. I literally had 3 lessons set up on Tuesday, today actually, and a couple of them I'm moving them on to one of my other co-workers there, Bobby Laskin, who teaches right next to me, because one of my junior has a lot of big tournaments coming up here, and she needs some help. So I'm gonna have her go see Bobby for now.
Yeah, that's the play. And you know you're going to get a response saying, dude, come on, I got the member guest this week. I need you out here. But you're rolling, right? You're at the Colonial. You'll be up here at the RBC Canadian Open. I don't know if you've been up here before. Oakdale's a great track. And it's an open championship. Like, it's going to be a great field. McIlroy's going to be up here. Rory's coming up. So, I love it. Yeah, it's going to be a blast to have you
I guarantee you they'll be paired together. I guarantee you.
You think so?
Why not?
About that? I would do it. You know, absolutely.
That would be insane.
That'd be cool, man. That'd be really cool. And if we have any power, which we don't, we'll float that out. We'll see if we can at least get that out into the universe, because that's got to happen Thursday, Friday at Oakdale. Well, good luck this week down at the Colonial. Unbelievable story, unbelievable playing. I mean, obviously it was a blast watching you from up here, and we can't wait to see you. We'll be there. We'll be at the course in a few weeks. We'll see you at Oakdale. Thank you for this.
I look forward to meeting you all, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
You got it. There he is, Michael Block. You could tell he's still just trying to figure out what the hell is going on with his life.
Trying to process.
Yeah, he's like
crazy.
trying to process the fact that we're doing a show. We're like, all right, we'll see you at the RBC Canadian Open in 3 weeks.
The biggest question is, can he come down from all of this, and can he shoot 67 on Thursday at the Colonial and kind of zero in and settle in instead of it being an 80-80 trunk slamming and kind of back to reality. Can he do that? That's the big question.
Well,
I'd love to see it.
It would be amazing. It would be amazing to see him, kind of stay hot, be in it. Like, I don't think anyone's bracing for him to win one of these tournaments. But listen, T15, for him to shoot even par on Sunday at a major is at that course is incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Like that is incredible. And yes, the hole in one, that is fairy tale. It's crazy, and that got him back to even par. But man, the way he plays, like you said, he's hitting 4-iron, Rory's hitting 8-iron. Like that hole in one was like 150 yards. He had a knockdown 7-iron. Pros aren't, like, McIlroy's not doing that. Scheffler's not doing that. So he's got to keep playing his game, and that's kind of what I was driving at. Like, sponsors, people are like, why don't you do this? Why don't you play that? Here, we got a golf ball for you. Like, that's
you got it. There's got to be there's got to be a fine line in between both of them, though. Like, he's got it.
But Noodles, his golf shirt is going to look like Ricky Bobby racing. Like, it is going to have
good. Like, because
wait till you see the golf shirt that he wheels out on Thursday.
It's going to be hilarious.
I want it to be just littered with sponsors, because he might as well strike while the iron is hot, because who knows how long it's going to last, and you hope it lasts for several years, and this is found gold here.
Sure. Hopefully Nike ponies up and just says you wore the Nike stuff, and we'll pony up and give you some cash to just keep it like Scotty Scheffler or Tiger Woods or Rory, and we're not going to have that thing blasted with ads all over it. Just wear the Nike stuff and we'll float you some cash.
It'd be awesome. Maybe Jordan will put in a good word, though. It took him a while to get back to his text, though. Like, did Jordan think that he's flushed him? Like,
that's a great question. And
I know. That's when you know you're super famous, where you text a guy and then someone else has to come over on the top turnbuckle and say, do you not know who texted you?
Right. And someone like an executive at Nike, being like, do you understand that Michael Jordan sent you a text? So you better get on that quickly and respond. Now, what happens if he sends him a text in a year? Say, hey, I'm down in Florida, like, anyway, I can get on that new track that you've built. Like, apparently Jordan's built a place that is paradise down in Florida.
Yeah. They send drones out with beers on them.
Yeah. There's like 100 members or something.
Grove 23.
Grove 23, that's it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. That'd be
I think
pretty
Gretzky
cool.
might be a member down there. But there's not many members, and not easy to get on that track. So, anyway, shout out to Michael Block. Really, really cool story. Really cool guy, too. Like, obviously embracing it, willing to do interviews. Why not, right? Strike while the iron's hot.
Yep.
All right, Keegan Matheson in about 20 minutes. Jays have lost 5 in a row. Can't get big hits at big moments. The manager's pulling guys from games when he's not supposed to, or he doesn't think he has to. Amateur hour at times.
That's a tough look, man.
Amateur hour. Not good for Schneider over the weekend at all. So more on that with Keegan. Confirm or deny in about 40 minutes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050N on TSN 2. All right, so the Lakers are out. The Celtics could be next. Feels like the Carolina Hurricanes are on the verge of it, and who knows what's going to happen. Dallas, Vegas, But off-season stuff is really picking up, right? It's almost like these series just haven't been good enough or compelling enough. And I know there's been a lot of great games, close games, overtime games.
They're good enough for the teams involved, like the Florida Panthers and Vegas Golden Knights.
Of course, exactly. If you're a Florida fan or a Vegas fan, you're loving life. It's amazing. If you love the Denver Nuggets, you're happier than you could possibly be. You don't care about anything else. But you get some of these big teams out, you get management, positions available, coaching positions. Look at Craig Conroy was announced as the new GM out in Calgary today. Yep. Right? And now that's going to beg the question, who are they going to hire? What are they going to do with that roster? Obviously, the Leafs are dealing with the same situation here. In the NBA, you get the Raptors. Seems like they're interviewing basically everybody. If you want to go in for an interview, you can get one right now with the Raps.
The voice of basketball in Toronto.
Yeah, maybe I'll throw my hat into the ring. Yeah, I guess Steve Nash went in for an interview. Sounds like it went pretty well, but I don't know. I'm surprised Steve wants the stress of a coaching job in Canada too, where it's like you're this legend and you got a team that's not that good. Like you want to grind it out.
Dude, I told you before, these guys could all have a shack in Hawaii and just golf and drink all after. They're highly competitive people. That's the only thing that drives them.
Yeah, and that's that's very valid, and that really is the explanation. That's all you really need to know.
That's it. They want to be involved in a competitive situation.
Yeah. It's just like in business. You get a CEO that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They don't have to keep working, but they
love
do.
making a deal.
Yeah, they love making a deal. They want to keep rolling, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Like this market, is this an attractive job? You know what I mean? Based on where the team is at. That's
not compared to other vacancies.
That's what I'm saying. Like, other teams may be a little bit farther ahead in their progression. That's what, if you're a coach, you're looking at the vacancies. We got to get into it in the 6
Yeah, no, it's the truth, though, Noodles. You're right. And if, Boston needs a new coach, if they're going to fire, their head coach, then all of a sudden that becomes more of an envied position.
Right.
Final hour coming up. Keegan Matheson, confirm or deny. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.